seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war.
Of course, they had to edit this because it was obviously that freaking bad. Okay, before we talk about Kamala Harris's disastrous interview and Tim Walz also being a disaster as well, I want to give you guys one very, very quick update. The video that I posted with the community guidelines strike video where I got one where I explained what happened, that video is going to be in the description box of this video here. Also, something else too, I got a doctor's appointment tomorrow morning, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get all these videos done tonight for tomorrow, and there will probably be an updates video, which I'll reiterate at the very end of the video. Again, of course, that will be out probably later on this week to kind of give you guys some updates on what we're doing because of the content shift coming next year. So be on the lookout for that. With that right there out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this. Kamala Harris says, obviously, and I mentioned this in a video on Tuesday, she has decided to go on a bit of a, a bit of a splurge or a bit of a trip that involves a lot of television shows. It involves a lot of interviews. Of course, these interviews are, in fact, softball interviews. Stephen Colbert, she'll be on, I think, tonight. Also, to go on top of that, there's also the Howard Stern interview, which, of course, didn't really garner any viewership, or it would not garner any viewership, obviously, because nobody really listens to Howard Stern anymore. And then, of course, to go on top of that, I'm pretty sure you guys caught what I was talking about yesterday with her going on the Call Her Daddy podcast, which, of course, the likes to dislikes ratio should tell you exactly how the hell people felt about that. And, of course, it doesn't really surprise anybody that she went on a podcast where women basically talk about abortion and basically free love, is what I'm going to say, to keep from triggering the censors. But, of course, the highlight of all of this is the 60-minute interview. However, there was also an interview with The View where she tried to say that, let's just put it this way here. The Kamala Harris presidential campaign, at this moment in time, they want to let us know that Kamala Harris is not Joe Biden. They want to let us know that she's a completely different animal. Yet she goes out there and says this, and this woman from CNN basically nips this entire thing in the bud and explaining this type of campaign messaging.
Done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Molly, what do you make of that?
I'm surprised, frankly, that she doesn't have more to say about this, given that she and her campaign know that this is one of the main questions that voters have about her. And one of the main things she's been trying to establish as part of her candidacy is the idea that she would represent a break from the past 4 years, and to not be able to come up with something to say in that moment. She continues to not be particularly nimble on her feet.
Well, she can't come up with another answer because, quite frankly, everybody kind of already knows the obvious, and that right there is the fact that she is the Vice President of the United States. And, of course, we'll be talking a lot about that. But, guys, before we get started, make sure you guys go ahead and hit the like button for the algorithm so that way it sends a signal to YouTube to let the video fly up the algorithm. Also, something else, too, make sure you guys, especially if you're new here, if you guys just now clicked on this channel, make sure you guys please subscribe. Also, please click on the notifications bell so that way you guys are notified when my videos are released. And, of course, I'm always going to want to get you guys' thoughts on the video. Please leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you guys have got to say. And also to go on top of that, and I've got to say it one more time, make sure you guys do, in fact, hit the notification, but especially if you have especially if you are doing this on the phone or you watch this content on your phone, make sure you guys, please in particular, actually hit that notification bell. So, we're talking about this 60 Minutes interview, which was an absolute train wreck, and I'm going to explain to you guys why it's an absolute train wreck. But we already know the problems with Kamala Harris. We already know she's the current sitting Vice President of the United States. We already know that she's kind of sort of joined at the hip with Joe Biden as far as his failures are concerned. And we also know that this woman can't even keep to the script. This woman's terrible during interviews, and you guys are about to see one more time why that is the case. However, I do got to say this really quick. There are a lot of people who are praising my man who did the interview, which, you know, there's some things that, quite frankly, you can praise him for because he did ask some actual questions. However, there was still a lot left on the table, which, of course, we will be discussing in this video. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get to this.
Left turn here, but you recently surprised people when you said that you are a gun owner. And then if someone came into your
That was
house,
not the first time I've
They would get
talked about
shot.
it. That's not the first time I've talked about it.
so what kind of gun do you own, and when and why did you get it?
I have a Glock, and I've had it for quite some time. And I mean, look, Bill, my background is in law enforcement.
You have a Glock. Glock is an extremely popular firearms brand, exactly like SIG, a lot like maybe FN is becoming popular. Smith & Wesson is popular. I mean, SIG, Springfield, I think I already mentioned SIG, but of course, it would sound a lot more believable if she maybe named a brand name that was maybe second tier, maybe a more underrated brand like, say, Walther, for example. Now, I understand why she may not have given us the model because, of course, Glock comes with several models, 19, 20, 21, the Glock 22, there's a Glock 23, there's a Glock 26, there's a Glock 30S. I mean, I'm just simply pointing out that I understand why he might not name the model. But still, though, it would sound a lot more believable, especially given the fact that your background has been calling for national gun buybacks, and, of course, your past is extremely anti-Second Amendment. I just figured I'd point that out before we go any further. And, oh, one more thing, too, about her saying she was law enforcement. She was never an actual cop. She was never actually in law enforcement. She was in the legal side of that, so I don't see how she can actually claim that. It would have been a lot better if she had just simply said what she was, a prosecutor or a district attorney. But of course, if she said that, people are going to look into her background a little bit further, and they're going to see how it is that she went out of her way to lock up parents for her kids being truant or going missing or all the marijuana violations. Very, very deceptive, but obviously people do know that this woman was never law enforcement, and she's actually much, much more on the side of the criminal, especially for the purposes of getting a certain type of vote. But we shall continue.
Pardon me, Madam Vice President. The question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes. It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations. And I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
You know, when you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about. Their constituents are those firefighters and teachers and nurses.
Okay, now real quick, I want to go ahead and say this. Most of these clips came from Twitter, and like I said, the full interview will be in the description box. Now, why did I not screen record there? Well, things kind of happened that kind of took me away from it, so therefore, I kind of went to Twitter to kind of get everything and kind of condense it out a little bit more. But like I said, the full interview will be in the description box. So let me go ahead and add a little bit of context to that minute. The interviewer basically asked her about her economic plan. And of course, that economic plan, which, by the way, she says that she will not raise any taxes on anybody. She neglects to mention that when the Trump tax cuts expire, that right there will, in fact, be an automatic tax increase. Of course, back in 2020, they were pretty much vowing to eliminate the tax increase.
And if we get done what we need to get done, Pennsylvania, in the next 24 hours, Joe and I are about to get rid of that tax bill.
The one thing that's being left on the table here, and this is something that a lot of people are not thinking about, is that when Kamala Harris talks about letting the tax cuts expire, that means that the taxes will immediately go up. Now, she has been saying that the rich will pay their fair share. However, the taxes actually go up on everybody when those tax cuts expire. With rampant inflation, you're just going to destroy an entire nation and economy. And don't even get me started on her tax plan. I'll link in the description box on how it is that she wants to go after unrealized gains. Basically, it's communism. Price freezes, eliminates incentives. That's basically what she's advocating for. Just figured I'd point that out. And I'm a little upset that this guy did not expand on it any further. And of course, her campaign ads, or at least the ones that have been coming out here recently, have been screaming the same exact thing that Barack Obama screamed back in 2012. The rich shall pay their fair share. The wealthy shall pay their fair share. I'm not going to cut taxes on them. And of course, they have angry people going out there saying they don't deserve a tax cut. I didn't get a tax cut, yet she vows to cut taxes for anybody who's not wealthy. It seems to me like there's a certain voter bloc that these people have in mind. And of course, it's the voter bloc that was talked about recently on CNN, where Kamala Harris appears to be doing very, very well with.
Among white college grads. Look, Hillary Clinton won him by 5 points. Then Joe Biden won him by 9. Look at this margin. that Kamala Harris is pulling up in the polls right now among white college grads. It's an 18-point margin, double the margin that Joe Biden had just 4 years ago. I went back through the record books. This would be the largest win for a Democratic presidential candidate among white college grads in recorded history.
Of course, she's doing this because she's only looking for one type of vote, and that vote, of course, being the middle class, because she keeps on telling us all that she came from the middle class, which, by the way, does not resonate at all with voters who are working class, which, of course, is roughly 70 to 75% of the nation. I'll be bringing that back up in the next cut, by the way. I just figure I would point out that, of course, this person right here sounds 100% completely fake. She's trying to sound impassioned. She's trying to be all passionate about firefighters and nurses and whatnot. But, of course, they're suffering as well, mostly due to this administration and, of course, the inflation that came about from this administration. I don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of these people have children. They don't want to see them go fight in wars. Of course, everything has fallen apart under the Biden-Harris administration. So, yeah, this right is not exactly something that resonates. And we'll talk about the taxes next. 18-point increase amongst white voters with college degrees. However, she's doing that at the cost of more and more and more working-class voters. You see, the college-educated whites and the indoctrinated whites, not all college-educated whites, because therefore I would actually be college-educated white, because obviously I've been to college, and of course I've got a 2 and a 4 year. Not trying to say anything, try to make anybody feel a certain way. I have working-class roots too, and I'm pretty sure the vast majority of the people who watch my content, at least regularly, I'm pretty sure the vast majority of you guys are kind of like me, probably working class. I'm just saying that I got an opportunity to go get some additional studying in, and I was able to do it. Still, though, it says a lot when your campaign is driven towards only one aspect of the aisle, and that right there being, for the most part, college-educated whites who oftentimes tend to be either suburban whites or tend to be what? Indoctrinated whites that come straight from college. I'm not trying to say everybody with a college degree is indoctrinated. However, it seems to me like the suburban class is what the hell she's going for, but she's doing this at the risk of losing all the working class vote. You see, roughly 2/3 of the nation, close to 70% of the nation's workforce is what? Working class. They make less than $100,000 a year. And then, of course, you've got another buffer that makes between $100,000 and $250,000. Kamala Harris is doing very, very well with those who have very, very high incomes. However, they are a much, much smaller part of the electorate. So this right is not something to actually brag about. Also, something else too, and of course, this is going to come back up again, especially when we get to the topic of foreign policy, because it was brought up. Kamala Harris is touting the endorsements of people like Liz Cheney, Mark Milley, and some people like Mark Esper, very, very weak people that Trump, by the way, allowed into his White House. And that's one thing that, quite frankly, did kind of piss me off. But it's not a good idea to be touting the endorsements of people who got us into all those wars. See, the vast majority of people in this country are over war, and that's one of the reasons why they're leaning back more towards Trump, because they remember in the 4 years that Trump was in office, no wars actually occurred. Very, very interesting side note. A lot of people think that Joe Biden right now, Dark Brandon, a lot of people think that right now what he's actually doing is he's actually throwing Harris under the bus. And of course, it's not just Harris he's throwing under the bus, it's also Obama as well. I'm going to link this video right here from Depressed Ginger in the description box. I did not get the article, but I'll try to link it in the description box. Joe Biden is actually blaming Barack Obama for Putin invading Crimea in 2014, which of course he would be correct. Obama was at fault for that. Very weak on Putin. As a matter of fact, Democrats as a whole have always been weak on the topic of Russia. Like I've said on several occasions, I always laugh when these people decide to blame Russia for anything or bring up Russia at all, because if you just look into their history, you will see that they are the weakest people in the history of the United States, the Democratic Party, on the topic of Russia. But let us get back to the interview.
Quarter of registered voters still say they don't know you. They don't know what makes you tick. And why do you think that is? What's the disconnect?
It's an election, Bill. And I take it seriously that I have to earn everyone's vote. This is an election for President of the United States. No one should be able to take for granted that they can just declare themselves a candidate and automatically receive support. You have to earn it. And that's what I intend to.
Earned votes. Earn everyone's vote. She's not earned a single vote. Do you guys remember how it was that she got the nomination? They basically told Joe Biden that he was not allowed to run for president. Then they threatened him with the 25th Amendment. Of course, Kamala Harris was in on that. And of course, he eventually chose not to run for re-election. She slid right on in. She went ahead and got to work on those little deals with donors and whatnot before Barack Obama could say anything. Because if you guys remember correctly, Obama wanted an open primary. And of course, at the end of the day, the Democratic Party delegates just said, screw it, we got no choice to make her the nominee. Of course, we got to do that there to avoid additional riots outside the Free Palestine ones they had at the DNC. So that's how the hell she got the nomination. She never actually earned it. She's never really and truly earned anything in her life. Do I need to bring Joe Brown back up? Do I need to bring up this woman's past in San Francisco as a assistant district attorney? Do I need to bring her up her past attorney general of California? Do I need to bring up her past in Southern California? All the men she's been with, all the positions. The fact that she's basically gone, how do I say this? She's basically gone horizontal to go vertical. Do I need to bring that up? She runs into this other issue. And this other issue is the voters themselves not knowing who she is. And then when she finds out how it is that the voters don't really know who the hell she is, she's stunned to realize the reason why that's the case. Let's let this next bit play all the way through, and I'll come back and explain this a little further.
What your critics and the columnists say.
Okay.
They say that the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position on so many things. You were against fracking, now you're for it. You supported looser immigration policies, now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all, now you're not. So many that people don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for. And I know you've heard that.
In the last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States. And I have been traveling our country. And I have been listening to folks and seeking what is possible in terms of common ground. I believe in building consensus. We are a diverse people, geographically, regionally, in terms of where we are in our backgrounds. And what the American people do want is that we have leaders who can build consensus, where we can figure out compromise and understand it's not a bad thing, as long as you don't compromise your values, to find common sense solutions. And that has been my approach.
I like her because of all of her flip-flops. You see, I explained this before, why it is that people don't like or don't want to vote for politicians that flip-flop. The reason why is because it denotes the level of trust that they don't have for you, especially if you keep changing your positions. Look, she was against fracking. She ran on that back in 2019, 2020. Of course, she dropped out of the election before she even got a chance to get a vote. Nobody actually voted for her, which is going to be absolutely hilarious. You know, the fact that nobody actually voted for this person. I mean, I just think it's hilarious that she got the nomination. She basically got all of Joe's votes transferred over to her, but still at the same time, good luck getting the same amount of votes this time around. Of course, she's called for an end to fracking. That she flip-flop on that right there. That right there obviously pissed off the environmentalists. They don't like her. The environmentalist vote, which, by the way, they need that vote, the CG vote. Can't say it out loud, or else I get a nice little connotation on the video, a little notification. That's obviously going to keep the video going in the algorithm. Also, something else, too, going back to guns. She's called for a national gun buyback. She's called for AR-15 ban. Nobody trusts her on this. I mean, this woman has flip-flopped on every single issue. Now, of course, she's running out there touting the whole, she's touting the whole rich should pay their fair share crap. Of course, this right here was the same line that Barack Obama used in 2012. Of course, she's basically copying him. So once again, this is another person that's not exactly, original. Also, to go on top of that, what else did she do? She copied Trump's no tax on tips thing after being the deciding vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, which of course destroyed the country, that actually went after those who rely on tips for a living. You know, waiters, servers, people who cut hair, beauticians, barbershop owners, that sort of thing there. I just figured I'd point that out before we go any further. But what is this person's biggest issue? What is this person's biggest issue? That's right, the border.
For years. And so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem. And solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the
under
numbers
your
today,
watch.
because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
But should you
we
have
have
done
cut
that?
the
Should you
flow
have
of
done that?
fentanyl by half, but we need Congress to be able to act to actually fix the problem.
Quadruple. Quadruple is basically saying if we have one illegal migrant here, that means that we really have 4. Okay? I don't think I need to go through what's going on with the neighborhoods of Chicago, New York. I don't think I need to go through that. Of course, these people voted for that when they voted Democrat back in 2020. Of course, a lot of them will probably still vote Democrat anyways in 2024 because their brains are gone, their souls are gone. Of course, these people never learn. But still, though, at the same time, though, illegal immigration has obviously been an issue. They keep reverting back to that Senate bill that was proposed by Senator James Lankford out of Oklahoma. I have no idea why I keep calling him Ray Lankford, but still, James Lankford out of Oklahoma. And by the way, they love to tell us that he's an extremely conservative senator. However, when you actually look into his record, he's a little bit less than mid-tier. He's slightly above Mitt Romney in the category of conservatism, which is pretty much non-existent. That bill was never passed by Congress. It was a concept bill that was pitched to Democrats by Lankford, and of course Trump did not get involved or get it nuked because Republicans in the Senate had already nuked it before it even got to Trump, or Trump even had any thoughts to, or could even give thoughts on the bill. That bill was going to include 4,500 more migrants crossing over the border a day. It was not a border security bill. And like I said before, and these people will tell you that you don't know civics, yet obviously these people who say you don't know civics, they're the ones who don't know civics. They seem to forget that this bill, once again, was a Senate bill, not a Congress bill, meaning that the Senate would have had to send it to Congress where they would have had to vote on it, negotiate it down, work it down, send it back to the Senate to be done again. The bill probably still would not have passed anyways because it was a pretty crappy bill. And by the way, in order to get that bill legislated, you would have had to have gotten what? 60 senators, not 51 to do so. And to go on top of that, all you have to do is sign an executive order to secure the border. That's all you really have to do is just let Border Patrol do their job. So the vast majority of this crap that once again is coming out of these people's mouths, especially Kamala Harris, is once again what? Lies. Oh wait though. I did say that the VP nominee, Tim Walz, would of course get some questions himself. Let's look at this.
Debate with J.D. Vance, you said, I'm a knucklehead at times. And I think you were referring to the time that you said that you were in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square unrest when you were not.
Yeah.
Is that kind of misrepresentation, isn't that more than just being a knucklehead?
I think folks know who I am, and I think they know the difference between someone expressing emotion, telling a story, getting a date wrong rather than a pathological liar like Donald Trump.
But I think it comes down to the question of whether you can be trusted to tell the truth.
Yeah, well, I can. I think I can. I will own up to being a knucklehead at times, but the folks closest to me know that I keep my
Recalling the moment on the debate stage when he could not answer the question on his involvement or his lack of involvement, the protests in Tiananmen Square. They're calling that the worst, like the absolute worst moment in a debate ever. You know, guys, the truth be told is nothing that Tim Walz has said this cycle or ever in the past has been accurate at all. I think I've done a few videos on his stolen valor claim where let's just say the claim of stolen valor on him, because obviously he lied about his rank, and of course he lied about being deployed to Iraq. Of course, we found out later on that he did not want to deploy to Iraq, and he, of course, got that responsibility sent to the next man down the line. Other people had to step up in his stead because he was a coward. I don't think I need to say too much more about that, except for if you continue to misspeak and you continue to say that you have misspoken, even though you're not really misspeaking, you're just outright lying, how the hell do you expect the American people to trust you when you go into the Situation Room, or let's just say that you've got to talk to Putin, or you got to talk to Xi Jinping, or all those other leaders like Kim Jong-un? How the hell do you expect people to trust you with security? And by the way, we also already know that he's a coward. I mean, do you guys remember the riots back in 2020 and how it was that he, for the most part, he cowered and wouldn't send the National Guard in to take care of the problem, or at least calm the city down? He wouldn't do that. Also, to go on top of that, he worked in tandem with Kamala Harris for the Minnesota Bail Foundation to get a lot of these people bailed out of jail so that way they could get right back on the street to riot some more and burn down the city. This right here would be, without a doubt, the most destructive ticket in American history if it was elected, which I don't believe it will be, but of course, in case it does, obviously, we've got a lot to worry about. We got a lot to be concerned about. This interview was terrible for her. She absolutely got destroyed, not just by the moderator, but you guys can obviously see that she does not do well when she has to go off script. I don't know if you guys paid attention or not, but there were several times where she was trying to butt in and interrupt and trying to get control when she clearly did not have control. This right here tells me that the presidency is a much, much larger job, too big of a job for her, and she would fail at it absolutely miserably. That right there is all I'm going to say on that note there. But you guys, please tell me what you think in the comment section. Now, guys, really quick, I did not say this. Well, I did say it earlier, but I'm going to kind of reiterate it. Tomorrow, I'm going to be at the doctor's office, so I'm going to try to get all my videos done tonight to get sent out tomorrow. I'm probably going to do some updates a little bit later on this week, though, just kind of update you guys on what I'm kind of coming up with, because as I said in the community guideline strike video, there is going to be a change in direction come next year after the election because of YouTube's crackdown on censorship. However, the content's not really going to change. It's going to be a change in direction. It's the change that I wanted to do earlier this year, but could not do it due to health-related stuff. Still, though, make sure you guys please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share the video. Please sound off in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys got to say, and I'll see you guys later.